Hello and welcome back to On the Steps. I'm Max Davis-Housefield.
I'm Verna Chen.
And I'm Madeline Wu.
Coming up, UCLA celebrates Memorial Day.
Students research self-driving cars.
UNRAVEL hosts a fashion show.
And TCN showcases Taiwanese culture.
Memorial Day was this Monday, honoring members of the military who died in service to our country.
UCLA hosted a remembrance event on Thursday, May 22nd.
The Daily Bruin's Izzy Yoeu and Luca Falvo attended the event and have the story.
Today, we honor and celebrate the contributions of our fallen service members. We reflect on how their presence and leadership made us better people and how those warriors gave the last full measure in defense of their buddies, in the pursuit of the mission, and in the service of their nation. To draw your attention to the list of names you see printed in your program. They are members of the UCLA community who gave their lives for our country and the values we hold dear. We are grateful for their service and sacrifice.
So today our program was to help out the Memorial Day. It was kind of really a nerve-wracking event because we had all this amount of brass around. We had like high-ranking officials. We had the chancellor come out, which was really big turnaround for us. And it was kind of nerve-wracking. And it's very honorable for us to like represent the fallen and the missing in action who have laid down their lives for our country. So it was a great honorable service that we did today. We specifically memorialized Bruins who have fallen in battle, so it made it more personal for us since we're going to be graduating here soon. I'm a third, so I'm going to be graduating next year. So to be part of that legacy is a great deal for us.
It's seeing all these other people, especially students that are going to be future officers in whatever respective branch they're going for. It's kind of seeing them getting their first experience at this that it makes me feel good because I see the tradition is continuing, and that's probably the most important thing for me is like some of the more hallowed traditions that the Army has, it's still kept alive, and seeing that is what was the best feeling that I had here from coming to this event.
No, there's like people who were just like us, students here at UCLA. It's just such a noble thing that they like really gave themselves up for us to have a better future,
Mm-hmm. I think it's like a little sad for me when I realize like some of the like past bruins, they're like no longer here with us. Especially when I realized how we attended the same school as them, and we basically did like everything that they have done. But like now that they're no longer here.
Self-driving cars, once futuristic tech, can now be seen driving around Westwood.
UCLA's Mobility Lab in the School of Engineering has been doing research and is developing autonomous driving vehicles and infrastructure.
The Daily Bruin's André Salcido visited the lab to find out more.
The Mobility Lab at the UCLA School of Engineering is driving our community into a safer future by spearheading new research into the development of autonomous vehicle systems. Researchers at the Mobility Lab cooperate and share their findings across several academic disciplines in an effort to pioneer new automated vehicle prototypes, smart infrastructure, and sustainable transportation systems.
In my lab, we have multiple autonomous driving vehicles. We've been working with the professors in social science, professor in public health, to looking at when these technologies are deployed, what are going to be the impacts. So autonomous driving is a very complex issue. Now, our program has been focusing on the remaining challenges these technologies are still facing.
To test this technology, the lab utilizes these Lincoln sedans as their autonomous vehicle prototypes. We often see cars and sensors like these being experimented with at the intersection of Westwood Plaza and Charles E. Young Drive South, where the researchers can collect data.
So in this prototype project, we have two connected vehicles, and we have two infrastructure units that is equipped with LiDAR sensors, with camera sensors.
Why we use the LiDAR and the camera data? Because the LiDAR have the 3D information and the image have the 2D information, and we can combine them together to have a better understanding of the scenario.
The driving data collected from these sensors are then applied to virtual simulations that measure the vehicle's ability to react to its environment, such as avoiding obstacles, obeying traffic laws, and improving the system's ability to predict on what lies in the road ahead.
We also have a lot of simulation data sets that's built on Carla, which is a simulation software that can imitate the driving simulations in our computer so that we can try to simulate different scenarios that it is hard to obtain in real world.
This vehicle data is also shared so that members of academia, the auto industry, and urban planners can more accurately anticipate what mainstream transportation will look like in the US in the decades to come.
We have done actually a study, right, as part of the Mobility Center of Excellence, really looking at our metropolitan planning organization. They came with assumption with easier travel, right? There are more increased congestion. And we actually modeled very carefully, came to a 9.1% we call vehicle miles travel increased. Because the easier travel, people change their travel behavior. And now it's time for government agencies, planning organizations, for them to stay alerted. They need to get prepared for this autonomous future.
With the rapid pace of this research, it may only be a handful of years before autonomous vehicles become a mainstream mode of transportation in our cities. But for now, the minds at the UCLA Mobility Lab continue to work on their goals in bringing that driverless future to fruition. I'm André Salcido with the Daily Bruin.
UNRAVEL at UCLA hosted their Project Runway fashion show last Saturday.
The club brings sustainability and social justice into their fashion designs.
The Daily Bruin's Hannah Morgan has the view from the runway.
UCLA UNRAVEL, a fashion club on campus focusing on sustainability and social justice, held a fashion show on Saturday, May 24th in Kirchhoff's Grand Salon. The show, focusing on the history of textiles, highlighted silk, plastic, denim, fur, nylon, and lace.
UNRAVEL is a sustainable fashion club on campus, and we seek to provide an alternative narrative to the conventional fashion industry. And so ways that we do that is through social advocacy. We have an entire division that's dedicated to making sure that the events that we do, the projects that we have, and the people that we interact with all have an educational element about aspects of the fashion industry that may be bad, and then trending towards a future where equality is reached.
I don't know, I think the biggest takeaway from the show is just like the level of creativity people have when it comes to using these materials and kind of combining this like artistic but also like scholarly approach to fashion, which I think is a very unique thing here at UCLA. Like we're all here to like learn. We're all scholars, but we're also here as a club to make fashion and make art that asks interesting questions, that creates conversations.
So ultimately, the thesis of the show is to emphasize how much goes into textile production and the clothes that we wear, kind of unraveling behind the scenes of our clothes. That's kind of our tagline. And we wanted to show how individually each textile has its own rich history, its impact on the planet, culturally, the people who wear it every day, but then also how these textiles are part of a larger system of the fashion industry, the textile industry, and how their stories all together have created what is now the second most polluting industry behind oil and gas. So that's really the goal, is to highlight how unique everything is, but also how all of them together contribute to like larger issues.
Yeah, for me, I think I really liked the idea of being a part of a club that is really trying to like promote thinking critically about fashion and self-image and everything that kind of gets entangled into those two things. And, you know, I think that's the step towards like a lot of kind of larger scale change and progressivism. And so I really like being with people who are thinking about being resourceful, thinking about where they're sourcing things, thinking about how they're expressing themselves and like what that means and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, we're a very beginner-friendly space, so we want to make sure that all of these things are accessible for people and they don't feel like that there's a educational barrier to being a part of our spaces. And so fashion touches everyone, whether or not you have a big interest in it or a small interest. We wake up and we put clothes on every day, and so I think it's just important for everyone to know where it all comes from and how we can be better humans about it.
Rounding out our show for this week, we're going to take a deep dive into the Daily Bruin's archives to bring you this story from April.
Taiwanese Culture Night was held on April 17th in Royce Hall.
Featuring a student-produced play highlighting the culture of Taiwan, the annual event incorporated storytelling, live music, and choreography into one performance.
Daily Bruin reporters Luca Falvo and Victoria Marchetti have the story.
Tonight at Royce Hall is Taiwanese Culture Night's final performance. UCLA students have been working towards this project for the entire year. Let's take a look.
This year, we decided to put our usual historical, family, and romance themes on hold to approach Taiwanese culture from a completely different perspective.
Alan? How come you're still here? It's Chuxia, and practice finished early today, didn't it? Shouldn't you be back home with family already?
I'll go home after this.
For Taiwanese Culture Night this year, I am the music director, and we started sort of brainstorming for TCN over summer. Myself as music director, I have to sort of work with the main director to figure out like what songs we want. Our next song is called The Yet Unbroken Part of My Heart, and in Chinese or in Mandarin, that's 我心中尚未崩坏的地方，还没崩坏的地方. And that's by a very famous Taiwanese band called Mayday, or 月天. And yeah, and in Chinese that literally means like 五月 is May, the month, and then 天 is day. And they're a really famous like pop rock band. And this song is supposed to just be a very like sad and angsty, moody song. It's not only does it showcase like a lot of the spirit of a lot of Taiwanese songs, which is pretty emotional and moody, but it's also a good highlight for the scene that comes right after, which is a scene where one of our characters has been hurt and they're in the hospital and everyone's very sad. And things, it's like the climactic bottom of our productions.
Last year I was a cast, and then I applied to be the director this year. The school year, around September to October, that's when we start recruiting our cast and also our team members for the other teams. So this year we mainly follow a student who first fell out of the game of baseball due to some personal reasons, and then eventually found the spark for him again. And then the second act is somewhat closer to historical events that happened in Taiwan before. Baseball has just been my favorite sport ever since basically when Shohei came to the US. And Taiwan is also having a very large baseball scene right now. It started in the 90s or even earlier in the 80s, 70s. But like recent years, it's been very like popular.
Huh. I think this is a pretty famous tea shop, isn't it?
Oh yeah, isn't it the one that created boba milk tea?
That my favorite part was definitely seeing the whole show come together, seeing our backstage team, our media team, our finance team, our cast all come together on stage. And I think one thing that was really rewarding to see is my actors. They really broke out of their shell throughout the year, and I could just see their confidence grow. And as the assistant director, this just means everything to me to see them grow their confidence. So Taiwanese culture is very, very special in the sense that it is a blend of all different kinds of cultures and values. One thing that we tried to do this year a lot was incorporate the Taiwanese language or Hokkien more into our script and more into our actors' lines. Taiwanese language is actually a dying language, and it's very sad to see how new generations of Taiwanese children don't learn the language as much compared to learning Mandarin Chinese. And so I think that us really incorporating the Taiwanese language as well as Mandarin and English in our script, in our actors' lines, can really show Taiwanese culture and just how much this language means to us.
Every year, we all somewhat try to have different stories. Last year is somewhat more historical and political about Taiwan's rise to democracy. This year, we took a different route. And next year, I assume it's going to be different again, since it's going to be a different person writing it. So I guess just to promote it, feel free to check it out. All the different culture nights had all of their own uniqueness to it. So yeah.
This is Victoria Marchetti with the Daily Bruin.
Well, that's our show for today.
Thank you for watching.
And we'll see you next week.